2 killed, 14 injured.
We begin tonight with breaking news from Austin. 3 people have died, including the suspect, and 14 others were hurt in a mass shooting outside of a bar in an area known for busy nightlife. Hello again, everyone. I'm Tom Abrams. Law enforcement sources identified the suspect as a 53-year-old man from Pflugerville, a suburb north of Austin. The FBI saying tonight it is investigating this as a potential act of terrorism. ABC 13's Sarah Al-Sheikh is live from where the shooting took place in Austin. Sarah, how do things look there now?
Yeah, you can still see this area is completely taped off, and a lot of law enforcement still here processing this scene. Now, this happened at that bar over there called Buford's here on West 6th Street in Austin. But here's video of what it looked like earlier this morning. Law enforcement says the original call came in around 2 a.m. regarding someone shooting around the bar Buford's. Authorities say the suspect drove around the block near the bar several times before he fired at people in front of the bar and on the bar's patio from his vehicle with a pistol. Then police say he drove west on 6th Street, parked his car, got out with a rifle, and shot at people walking by. Austin police say he continued to walk east on 6th Street, where officers then confronted him, returned fire, and killed the man. According to law enforcement sources, he was identified as 53-year-old Ndiaga Diagne from Pflugerville, who was born in Senegal and was a naturalized citizen. A law enforcement source has confirmed this photo, first obtained by Fox News, shows him. According to sources, the suspect was wearing clothing that made reference to Allah and wearing a t-shirt that referenced Iran.
Obviously, it's still way too early in the process to determine an exact motivation, but there were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism. Again, it's still too early to make a determination on that. That's why we are investigating it very closely with our partners with Austin Police Department.
The Governor Abbott released a statement saying in part that he directed DPS to increase patrols and law enforcement in the 6th Street district during the weekends. Now, for people that are maybe not familiar with this area, I lived in Austin, worked here, went to school here. I'm very familiar with how packed this area can get, especially on the weekends. There's a lot of bars over here and restaurants, and this is an area that a lot of UT students also visit as well. Now, law enforcement has not released any information on the victims, but I wanted to mention this statement from the president of UT. He said, quote, "Our prayers are with the victims and all those impacted, including members of our Longhorn family, and my heart goes out to their families, friends, classmates, professors, and loved ones." Ultimately, still a lot of questions and so many people impacted by this. Reporting live in Austin, Sarah Al-Sheikh, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Okay, so the biggest thing with this shooter comes in, right? I looked at this, and I'm trying to figure out who this guy is first at the beginning. They told you born Senegal, naturalized citizen here, came here on a tourist visa, became naturalized, married someone, obtained his citizenship, in 2013. Investigators have noted that his history had mental health episodes and past encounters with authorities related to mental health. And he had access to a gun at the same time. Let's continue.
All right, let me bring in Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton joining us this morning from Texas. AG, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are talking about this shooting sparking new worries of Iranian terrorist cells activated in the United States after Operation Epic Fury. What can you tell us as the AG in terms of the status of this investigation and what you know today?
Well, I think it's pretty common knowledge that this guy had Iranian flag undershirt, that he had Allah written on his shirt, that they found other paraphernalia at his house related to Iran. So, yeah, I think it's a legitimate issue, a legitimate concern that he might have been part of a sleeper cell. At least he was inspired by Iran to do exactly what he did. And it is a concern for me going forward.
And what can you do about it today, because these worries are spiking given the fact that we don't know who came in through a wide open border under Joe Biden. We don't know if more Iranians came in and started terrorist cells or more people from Venezuela and beyond started human trafficking operations here.
Well, you bring up a really good issue, which is The Biden administration let in millions of people. I sued them over immigration 20 times. One of those lawsuits was about bringing in criminals. They defended even bringing in criminals. So they created this problem, and now law enforcement has the pressure of finding these people and vetting them and trying to figure out what's going on, which is really difficult to do once they're in the country and we don't even know where they all are.
Mm-hmm. And you, of course, have a primary election which begins tomorrow. You're running for a U.S. Senate seat. A new statewide poll shows it will come down to you and current Senator John Cornyn for a GOP runoff. What are you expecting?
Well, look, I think it's going to be a great day for us. I think he spent close to $100 million. I've spent around $3 million. They have definitely pumped the money in from Washington, D.C. I don't think it's going to matter.
Man, he only got away with $3 million, but $100 million? That's a lot. That's a lot for that position.
In the end, obviously, those commercials have been on all day, every day for about 6 months. But we're going to win this, and I think there's a slight chance that we could win this without a runoff.
And so you mentioned the money, and this is a really important point because, some senators are criticizing all the money that's spent. Let's say, hypothetically, you win this without a runoff, Ken. Do you feel confident that you can take down the Democrat candidate come November? Because that's where this all is going. And if the Republicans lose Texas, somebody said the other day on the show, you lose Texas, you lose it all.
Yeah, that's true. If they lose Texas, they lose it all. And we can see already that Texas has some very radicalized people down there. It radicalized Islamic folks that are down there setting up voting blocks, like I said already, to sway and bring in votes, building communities, building their own cities, and we'll talk more about that, to be able to control the elections. See, our own civil freedoms are going to be used against us in order to remove our civil freedoms. And I say it because freedom is only as good as the boundaries that you put it around freedom. Freedom with no boundaries, it's really called lasciviousness. That means no control. Yeah, I'm coming out. I'm bringing the Bible out on y'all. I'm going to bring it out on y'all because I'm a man of God too. Yes. Bringing in lasciviousness and saying that it's freedom, that's the Democratic Party right now. If you're a Dem and you're listening to this, listen, you can't have freedoms without any boundaries, okay? You can't. Because you still have to maintain when that freedom now begins, you gotta recognize when that freedom starts to get perverted. And that's what we got. We got a lot of perverted freedoms. When people come in and say that you can have all the free stuff that you want, that's exactly what they did in Iran. That's how they told God had power. That's how they did. The supreme leader of Iran promised them back in 78, 79, before he took power, hey, all these people with money, listen, we need to have free schools. We need to have free this, free that. And that freedom made all the people jump on board. And that's how they ended up in that spot. There are terror cells here. There are bombing cells. You cannot deny that it is. You can't deny. When you get an attack like that, you can say, oh, that's a one-off guy doing it one time, and he's just one person. That doesn't mean we had a terror cell situation. That's why we've got Department of Homeland Security. Joker, listen. Department of Homeland Security was founded, put together on the heels of 9/11 because of stuff like this. Because America gets attacked, and America's got to now secure its border. But when you have people that don't want that done, when they feel that you're being Islam, when they say you're expressing Islamic phobia because you're saying, listen, the terror issues, Sharia law issues, it's coming from people like that in the Middle East, and you're bringing that same rhetoric over here to the West. Boy.
First, let's go to Austin, Texas, a possible domestic terrorism offense in the city's Party District, 6th Street, where a migrant who was allowed to be naturalized despite a growing criminal record went on a shooting rampage, killing 3 people. Army, this is being investigated as a possible Islamist terror attack. What do we know so far?
Yeah, I mean, he was wearing a shirt that said "Property of Allah." He had a Quran. There's the picture right there. He had a Quran in his car, so we clearly know this is a terrorist attack, even though they were saying, well, we're not sure what the motivation was. I don't know how more clear you could be on the motivation, frankly. It was a drive-by shooting initially. Then he calmly parked the car, came out, started shooting people on the sidewalk. Absolutely horrific in a very popular area of Austin. I've been there I was just there a couple weeks ago, frankly, walking down the street and having a couple cocktails right along that promenade. Yeah, he first came to this country in 2000. Then he married somebody and became a U.S. citizen. And he was arrested 4 times, both before he became a citizen and after he became a citizen. But
4 times. We could legitimately have saved 3 lives if we enforced the laws that were on the books, because Texas is not a sanctuary state, nor have I seen any sanctuary cities in Texas. But we could have actually stopped a lot of that by vetting the people that come in before you turn around and even give them a citizenship. Now, even me coming from a family, immigrants in my background, I still feel the same damn way. I still feel the same. Because you got to realize not everybody outside of America loves America. You got a ton of people that do, but you got a bunch of people that don't. And it's hard for people to realize that, because you feel and you want to believe just the basic blanket belief that all immigrants should be afforded the opportunity to have the same liberties that we have. That's not true. That is not true, and it never will be true, because anybody can lie. And to me, I don't get why people don't understand that people lie. People lie and deceive. People, regardless of how much you want them to be nice people and you have a nice deal, and I'm tired of y'all talking about, oh, would Jesus be an immigrant? Stop. Don't include Jesus in your stupid argument. Don't include. Leave it out. This has nothing to do with Jesus, and the text right there is that statement is so out of text. I need to call up Kurt Franklin and leave him a message or some craziness and let him know that same craziness that he said in an interview. Now you got everybody repeating it on social media. Jesus is a Christian. Jesus is an immigrant. Jesus is an immigrant. Well, you think that Jesus went to Egypt and Egypt allowed Jesus to actually be an immigrant there and run for office? Do you not think that the Egyptians treated people different that weren't Egyptians? Do you think so? Do you think was anything that was put in line? Do you think you can just walk into Rome? Jerusalem was occupied by Rome and just say, oh, it's not fair. I'm an immigrant. You should treat me well. They will smack you upside your head. They would have smacked you upside your head, dragged your behind out. That has nothing to do with the state. And then you're going to say, oh, we're more civilized than they were. We're more now civilized. You're civilized in your head. There's a point where you become so smart, you're stupid. So smart, you're stupid. Would you let somebody come into your house and just sit on your couch, turn around, eat your food, steal your money out of your room and walk out? Nah, y'all wouldn't. You wouldn't, and they know they wouldn't.
I promise you, the Democrats will fight tooth and nail against his deportation, right? They're not going to allow ICE to lay a finger on this guy. It's crazy. And it really comes down, look, I'm sorry, we got to be real here. You know, this immigration question. We should not take in whoever wants to come in. We have to be judicial and choose who we want. I am pro-immigration. I am a product of immigration. I love it. Our country is better for it. But I'm sorry, guys, despite ChatGPT's best efforts to deter me from coming up with these numbers, okay, I looked the last 35 years. I could have looked more than that. In 35 years, every single immigrant to this country who committed a terrorist attack was Islamic. Every single one. I'm sorry. Those are just the numbers, okay? Even though they make up 5% of the immigration to this country, they make up 100% of the terrorist attacks. So I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm sorry.
Army, I'm sure there'll be groups saying that those figures are not accurate. It's all about how you define terrorism, but that's an argument for another day. There is no...
And you believe that the police are going to protect you and to keep you. I think that's I think that's the most ignorant thing that I've heard from when I hear people that are anti-gun, anti-immigration, anti-ICE. You guys believe that this, I guess our law enforcement they're going to protect you? They will be everywhere. This guy shot 2 people, was able to kill 2 people, injured, 3 people, and injured 14 other people before he was actually taken down by police officers. 2 o'clock in the morning. Somebody was carrying that wasn't around, and I bet some of the people that were there probably wish they were carrying. And that's very weird to me. Texas, of all places, open carry laws. You don't have to deal with the licensing and the bureaucracy you deal with in some of the other states. But Texas had it. So it is weirder to me. The more I see more incidents come out of Texas also, and we never hear, maybe it's true, maybe it happens and mainstream media doesn't want to report it, anybody standing up to these guys and shooting them, taking them down. Because as we look at terror cells, I'm not going to focus on the cell as much as I'm going to focus on the people that are here that really can prevent that from happening. The difference between America and a lot of these other countries, depending on where you're at in America, someone will have a gun and they will take you down. They will take you out. But they've made it so hard now, even when you shoot and take someone out that's in that situation, you could still catch a lawsuit from the people, the family of the person you shot, because they were trying to take people's lives. That's the insanity of what's really taking place. I like to follow Colin Noir. If you get a chance, go to his YouTube page, Colin Noir, great guy. Gun advocate, used to be with the NRA, now he's with another place, but he's done a ton of videos on gun advocacy, the Second Amendment, and things like that. All around there. Because it's going to be left to citizens and people like you and me to bear arms responsibly, understand how to use it to take jokers like that down. So you're not waiting a whole 15 minutes for the cops to show up. Gun fired, a person should not be able to empty their whole clip, whether it's a rifle, whether it's a handgun, take lives and walk away like that without someone putting pressure on them. Yeah, dragging them out, shooting them, popping them, however you want to call it. Because until that happens and that message becomes a resounding message, and I'm not talking and I'm not advocating for foolishness. Dude, I am no way saying randomly shooting. The first person, I'll do a story on the first one that I see that shoots and takes someone down and they claim they're radical Islam. And they did it, and we're going to find out if that person was really opening fire on someone. But at the end of the day, this freedom was put in place by the founding fathers, not just to protect the people against a tyrannical government, but to also aid in protecting us against assaults, foreign and domestic. I'm a very big advocate of knowledgeable, educated firearm safety. And because we sit back and we fight that, because situations have happened when people have abused firearms. And I keep saying it's like that because there's no education behind it. You get more education getting your driver's license, which takes more lives a year than firearms do in our country. People get hit with cars, ran over, maimed with cars, DUI driving, hitting and killing, taking people's lives with cars than they do with guns. And for that reason, I believe the left knows that. And if you're listening to this and you're on the right and you know someone in a position right now that is Senate, Congressman, any of you out there, this is what we need. See, we have this fight that goes on and people lose their lives because good people, who would probably be the best people to carry a weapon, they don't get a chance to even carry a weapon, bro. They don't get any of that. Simply because we got these people that make people afraid and fearful of having a firearm. If you think I'm crazy, leave a comment. Think I'm wrong, leave a comment. I got a lot more to talk about today. This is just one of the things we're going to talk about. Because to me, that's the breakdown. Because they don't want people to have it so much, they'll turn around and make it as hard as possible.
At least 20 people were shot in downtown Austin this morning.
Let's jump over to here.
3 people
because
are
Cole
dead.
Noir makes a good point.
At this point, prepared to say that it was potentially an act of terrorism. The FBI is working in lockstep with our partners, with Austin Police Department. We have members from our evidence response team, as well as our many other specialty teams, including our digital forensics folks that are on scene, helping to address the scene.
Working in lockstep. It sounds organized, it sounds powerful, but lockstep is a post-game analysis. I was on the east end of 6th Street this week, Thursday to be exact, the side where the cops congregate because that's where they expect the trouble. But the wolf doesn't play the odds. The wolf plays the vulnerability. The shooter didn't go to the east end. He went to the west 6th, outside of Buford's backyard beer garden. He found the gap where the lockstep was just 3 blocks too far away.
There were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism. Again, it's still too early to make a determination on that. That's why we are investigating it very closely with our partners with Austin Police Department.
The FBI is being careful, but the evidence isn't. The shooter was reportedly wearing a Property of Allah hoodie and an undershirt with the Iranian flag. They found a Quran in his SUV. This happened less than 24 hours after the U.S. and Israel launched an Operation Epic Fury against Tehran. We are officially at war, and for years we've been warned about sleeper cells and radicalized sympathizers right here on our soil. We're told the war is over there, but Sunday morning proved that over there is now right here. Now, I want to be very clear about what I'm saying next. I'm not advocating for anyone to carry a firearm while they're drinking or getting drunk at a bar. What I'm saying is that
and I'm not advocating that. If you like to drink, you probably don't need to have your gun on you, okay? But I know some of my country boys, they do it regardless.
Oh, no. This current global crisis, your lifestyle has to reflect the reality of the threat. If you're a part-time carrier, someone who carries 50% of the time, or only when you're going to bad neighborhoods, you're leaving a gap that a predator like this shooter is looking for. This is the time to think about really increasing that percentage closer to 100. If that means you change your plans, if that means maybe you stay sober so you can stay strapped and legal, then maybe that's something you might want to consider.
So I don't drink. I stopped drinking a while ago. Started back like doing, tequila and wine, but then I stopped. It just wasn't for me. But the one main reason I stopped is because I discovered that I wanted to carry more as I saw a lot of these instances, situations taking place. And you can't really carry and really perform if something goes down and you're drunk or you're even tipsy or you have some liquor in your blood. Because after you shoot that individual, they're going to do a breathalyzer test on you. They're going to do that. And if you're those two things don't work well with the federal government, put it like that. Okay, and you know what I'm talking about. You could end up now being a person that saves a bunch of lives and then you get dragged to jail because they will do that to make an example of you. So you have to build your life now around the fact that if you're a father like me, if you're someone like me, that you have people that you love and you've got to be on alert for them, your lifestyle now has to adjust to a place where you're always aware of what's taking place and you're able to respond from a responsible place. You can't remember what you were trained if you're drunk. Well, some people can, and I've seen some of them do it in the military, but still, the average person who doesn't train every day, it's hard for them to remember that.
Never know when or where a sleeper cell is going to decide to bring the front lines to your doorstep. You don't get to choose the time of the attack, but you do get to choose your level of readiness. Under the law, specifically Warren v. DC, the police have no legal duty to protect you specifically. Their duty is to the public at large. When the shooting starts, the only person with a legal or moral duty to protect your life is you. The police did their job, and they did it well.
Police responded quickly. They say that they had engaged with the suspect, who is now dead.
They killed the threat, and in a very short time, I will admit, but they weren't the first responders. The victims were.
Yeah.
Don't mistake police presence for your own personal safety. The wolf doesn't attack the shepherd. He attacks the flock that thinks the shepherd is just around the corner. One thing's for certain and two things are for sure. Politicians and tech giants don't want gun content to be recommended.
So I guess my biggest message, I think, is we have to all be ready and prepared. The days of just laissez-faire, going out the house, everything's good, and just living, I think those days are done. I think right now we need there's a lot of stuff moving out here. They filming a movie in my neighborhood, yo. It's crazy. But the days of us just being laissez-faire and relaxed and just going out and not even carrying your firearms, you just walk, those days are done. And I think that we see more and more of this. We can have this fight when it comes to immigration, whether we have immigrants coming in or not, illegal immigrants, you don't like Islam, you're Islamic phobe, I got you. Whether it's someone dressed with a hoodie that says property of Allah, or whether it's just somebody that just had a mental disease trip down. See, if you go to certain places like New York, Zohran Mamdani would tell you, no, we need, in his situation right there, he would have called for the social police. He would have called for social workers to confront him. He needed social workers. He had a mental breakdown. This is the same Zohran that is Islamic and had a private meeting with Islamic leaders in New York that were business leaders to let him know that, hey, I'm here. You're going to have a lot of opportunities.